In today's video, I'm going to show you how much you would need in order to retire off SCHD and also how soon you'd be able to retire. SCHD is currently one of the most popular dividend growth ETFs among investors for honestly several really good reasons. It currently offers the highest dividend yield among many of the most popular dividend growth ETFs that exist. And if you happen to be interested, I recently did a video in which I compared some of the most popular dividend ETFs to each other, looking at a bunch of different metrics including dividend growth, diversification, overall returns, and so on. I'll leave a link to that video in the description. But in this video, we're going to see how quickly someone would be able to retire from their job and live solely off the dividend distributions of SCHD. For this video, we're going to make a couple of assumptions. First, we're going to assume that SCHD is the only investment you have in your portfolio. Now, because SCHD is a diversified ETF, if someone wanted to only invest in SCHD, then I really wouldn't see much of an issue with that. I always advocate for having multiple investments in your portfolio, but SCHD currently holds 104 different dividend-paying stocks. So if SCHD were the only thing someone wanted to hold, then that would be sufficient in my opinion. Second, we're going to assume that you'll want to make $100,000 a year in dividends. I know that sounds like a lot of money, and if you want to aim to live off less, then that's great. But depending on the number of years in the future we're going to look at, $100,000 might not be as wealthy as you could be considered today. When actually estimating how much you need to invest and how long you'll have to wait to retire is a pretty complex thing to calculate on your own. You would need to calculate the dividend growth rate, look at the average annual share price performance, take into account reinvested dividends, and so forth. It's a really difficult thing to calculate on your own, even if you happen to have some kind of Excel sheet that can do it for you. When it comes to estimating future income from an investment or even a portfolio, it's best to use a website that can do all the hard work for you. There's a couple different websites that exist that provide you with future dividend estimations. I've showed the dividend calculator from TipRanks in the past, which is a really solid tool that shows estimates as to how much you can expect from a dividend-paying investment in the future. But another really good website is called Track Your Dividends. It's a really good platform that gives you future projected dividend payments on your portfolio, and it's completely free. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, but I do really like their website. They have a feature called Future Value, which gives a projection as to how much you'll earn in yearly dividends at a future time. It also takes into account the average dividend growth rate and the share price performance of an investment, so we're going to use this platform to figure out how soon we can live off SCHD. The first step is to create an account if you don't have one already. Next, we're going to create a basic portfolio by clicking on Add Account. We'll call it SCHD for this example. Once we're done, you can try this out for yourself using your own holdings in your own timelines. Once we have our portfolio, we need to add our ETF to it. This is where we're going to need to decide what our investment in SCHD will be. Let's go ahead and start with a lump sum example. Instead of consistently buying into SCHD every month, I think it'd be interesting to see how things would turn out if you just made a one-time investment in this ETF. Let's start off by assuming that one day you decide to put in $50,000 into SCHD. Maybe it's your current investment balance and you decide you just want to put everything into SCHD. Or maybe you happen to be very lucky and you happen to have $50,000 laying around somewhere that you want to put to work. So when adding SCHD to our portfolio, we need to know how many shares we'll need. So we need to take $50,000 and divide it by the current share price, which is $72.40. We can see in order to have 50 grand in SCHD, we would need 691 shares of it today. So we're going to click on Add Holding to add it. Now you can see we have our 50 grand in SCHD in our mock portfolio. At the top, you'll notice it currently says your expected annual income is $2,052 per year. This is how much SCHD is estimated to pay you per year, and it'll grow over time as the distributions grow and you keep reinvesting your dividends. So now that we've got our SCHD shares, we'll click on Future Value at the very top of the page. Right away when you get here, you'll see it has a 10-year projection. In 10 years, it's estimating that you'll earn $6,408 per year in dividends from SCHD, and your portfolio value will be approximately $100,000. It needs to be said that this platform comes up with these projections assuming that SCHD will continue to perform as it has since this ETF was launched back in 2011. So obviously nobody can live off $6,400 per year in dividends, so it'll take more time to achieve retirement. If you look under projected balance, you'll see that we can select 15, 20, and 25 years. If you're not too familiar, as time goes on, the annual dividend income amount is going to grow significantly. This is all because of the magic of compounding returns, which Albert Einstein once referred to as the eighth wonder of the world. It's also commonly called the snowball effect, which is that as time goes on, your total investment amount will rapidly grow faster and faster. So if we look at an additional 10 years in the future, or 20 years after we made our 50K purchase, you'll see that the annual dividend income amount isn't doubled, but it's actually grown to $29,000. Still, in 20 years, this won't be enough to live off of, even if you paid off your house and your car and you don't have any major expenses. So if we wait an additional 5 years, your annual dividend income amount is going to be $53,622. I highly doubt that this will be enough to retire off of in 25 years, even though it's currently a pretty impressive amount of money from passive income. But if we look again at the projected balance dropdown, you'll see it only goes up to 25 years. But we can actually go further than this by looking at the URL at the very top of the page. You'll see right here it currently says 25 years, but we can actually change this to our own number. So we'll go ahead and we'll change this number to 30, meaning that it'll project returns from our original investment over the course of 30 years instead of 25. If we do that, we can now see our annual dividend income is $110,104. In my opinion, in 30 years, that'll likely be enough money to live off of. Remember, as time goes on, this is a dividend growth ETF, so your dividend income will continue to grow even if you aren't reinvesting your dividends. So if you start with $50K in SCHD today, you can expect to retire in about 30 years. It's a really crazy thing to think about in my opinion. I know a one-time $50,000 investment into anything is a ton of money. But realize that if you're willing to wait 30 years and assuming SCHD will perform as it always has, you'll never have to save another penny for retirement. If you make this investment amount when you're 30 years old, you can expect to fully and comfortably retire when you're 60, just as long as you don't sell any of your shares over this time. But this is not something that I'd recommend anyone doing to make this clear. I'm still a serious saver at heart, so I would still want to keep saving and taking advantage of things like employer 401k matches, my IRA, my pension, and so on. But according to Vanguard, they suggest saving 12 to 15% of your paycheck to savings for retirement. If you did want to do this one-time $50,000 deposit into SCHD, what would you do with that extra 12 to 15% of your paycheck that you're not needing to store away? It could mean more vacations, more dining out, or just having an overall better lifestyle. Additionally, this ETF will keep growing its dividends over time like I just mentioned, so you'll still see your income grow every year if you're not reinvesting your dividends. But of course, as I'm sure most of us watching are thinking, we don't want to wait 30 years to retire. There aren't too many 20 or 30-year-olds that have 50 grand saved up to make this kind of purchase. So let's see what we can do in order to speed up our retirement date. If we scroll down to the bottom, we can see that there is a field that says annual contributions. This allows us to make additional investments as time goes on, which will help speed up our retirement. So for this next example, we'll keep everything the exact same, but we'll invest $500 a month or $6,000 a year into SCHD. If we click on Update Chart, you'll see this makes a significant difference. After 10 years, your annual income would be almost $11,000. If you recall earlier in the video, if you're not making any additional contributions, after 10 years you're only making $6,400 a year. So this is an additional $3,300 per year thanks to making $500 per month contributions. If we then go to 20 years, you'd be earning about $58,000 per year. Earlier this amount was only $29,000, so it's grown a lot. If we then go to 25 years, you'll see we've hit our goal of earning 6 figures per year in dividends. In fact, we've well more than gone over our 6-figure goal. You would still earn 6 figures after 24 years, which would be 1 year earlier than this. So by committing to purchasing $500 per month in SCHD, you've sped up your retirement by 6 years. Let's look at one more example. We'll keep everything the exact same, only we'll assume instead of having 50 grand, you only have half of that, 25 grand to start. You'll still be investing $500 per month in SCHD and will still be aiming for 6 figures. As you can probably imagine, it will take longer to achieve your goal with less money starting out, but probably not too much longer than you might realize. If earning 6 figures in our previous example while contributing $500 per month would take 24 years, you might assume that with half of that to start out, it would take twice as long to realize our goal. But again, thanks to compounding, it isn't that significant of a difference. If we look at our future projection 25 years from now, you can see you'd be earning $87,000. Potentially an amount you could comfortably live off of in 25 years, but if we're still aiming for $100K, it'll take a little longer. If we add just one more year, we can see after 26 years we'd hit our goal. So having $25,000 less at the start to begin with, it's resulted in us having to wait only 2 additional years, which isn't that significant as you might think. What it really boils down to is how consistently you're able to make contributions to your dividend portfolio. There's obviously an infinite amount of changes and alterations that could be made here, and you're free to make your own account and input your own numbers. Obviously, the more money you have and the more you can contribute per year is going to make a significant difference in terms of how soon you can retire. As for me personally, I do invest in SCHD, but as I've shown on this channel in the past, if you're looking to retire off dividend distributions, you'll actually achieve that faster than what we've seen today by investing in a pool of higher yielding investments and reinvesting those dividends. Higher yielding investments are also ideal if you're older and don't have much time before retiring, or if you're a fan of steady cash flow playing investments like I am. I understand it's not an investment strategy for everyone, so hopefully this video did provide you with a good idea as far as what to expect if you are building up a large position in SCHD. But with that being said, that's going to conclude today's video. If you're interested, feel free to check out my Patreon where you'll find an Excel sheet of all of my holdings updated monthly. Plus it'll give you access to our Discord channel where we discuss higher yielding types of investments. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you liked what you saw, then feel free to hit that like button below and click subscribe if you want to see higher yielding investing strategy content. Again, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and until next time, take care.